Hey guys, what is going on? This is Wrestlelamia back with another episode. SummerSlam is just 2 weeks away and there's plenty going on during tonight's Smackdown. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the 15th July edition of the Blue Brand, as well as all the wildest wrestling news, stories, and rumors you need to know, including no return date for Cody, an update on Shirai, another AEW star sidelined with an injury, and more. As always, Wrestlelamia won't recap the matches, but look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. The good. The New Day play. The New Day Viking Raiders interaction was a classic example of how babyfaces employ brains versus a heel opponent's brawn. Here, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston dressed up as the Viking Raiders and mocked the menacing team that's been beating them down the last few weeks, hoping to aggravate them into losing their focus. Even better, the New Day did so without making the Viking Raiders look like buffoons, something the WWE excelled at during Eric and Ivar's babyface run. Jinder and Shanky don't play. Conversely, Jinder and Shanky weren't playing tonight as the tag team unleashed their fury on the Viking Raiders in an attempt to pay them back for last week's post-match pummeling. While Shanky eventually got to dance, the team was all business when it came to dishing out the punishment. It's good to see continuity like this as a team doesn't just roll over the week after a shellacking and instead looks for revenge. Another highlight was how WWE is teasing whether Jinder Mahal will turn babyface. Shanky's dancing with the New Day had fans wondering whether the modern-day Maharaja would put his dancing shoes on. A babyface turned by Jinder could be good and add a much-needed babyface team to the Blue Brand. Teasing Heyman Theory Alliance. Is Theory going to hire Paul Heyman as his manager? As unlikely as that might seem, Heyman's interaction with Theory was perfect, as it showed the ever-cunning counsel for the tribal chief trying to manipulate Theory into passing on cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase at SummerSlam so he can make more money mano-a-mano against Roman. Equally good was Theory's reply that he might hire Heyman after he wins the Undisputed Championship, as it showed A-Town's unbridled arrogance. McAfee's the man. Pat McAfee returned to Smackdown this week, revealing he was suffering a bruised and not broken neck. McAfee is over, and the WWE knows it because he can wrestle, talk, and, most of all, connect with fans in an organic way. As unlikely as it might seem, the 35-year-old could be a main event wrestler if his career outside the WWE wasn't so busy. McAfee wasted no time returning to the broadcast booth, apologizing for missing last week's show and forcing the fans to have to listen to Corey Graves. This wasn't just a good way to get a laugh, but to tease a future match between Pat and Graves. The promo between McAfee and Corbin was solid too, as was McAfee's introduction for Liv Morgan. Keeping Theory and Madcap strong. It's quickly become apparent that WWE has two budding main eventers in Theory and Madcap, so it was encouraging to see the two wrestle in an inter-brand match, while WWE also kept them looking strong. While disqualification finishes should be used sparingly, this served the purpose of keeping both wrestlers looking strong and reinforcing Theory's status as a heel who isn't afraid to get disqualified rather than lose by pinfall or submission. Brilliant build-up for SummerSlam. Congratulations to SmackDown's creative team for continuing the strong build-up for SummerSlam. Although there's only so much the WWE can do with Roman vs. Brock due to their limited schedules, the WWE is succeeding in building up suspense about the possibility of Theory cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase. Not only that, but the WWE is building up the Usos vs. Street Profits, McAfee vs. Corbin, and Drew vs. Sheamus. It also looks like fans will see the New Day versus the Viking Raiders. The Maxine Dupree mystery. Max Dupree's Maximum Male Models angle is starting to get interesting, as Dupree announced fans will see the debut of Maxine Dupree next week. While the debut could be a dud, WWE is putting some effort into building the fans' interest in the new faction. The bad. Liv limps through her match. Tonight's Liv Morgan vs. Natalya match was a reminder that while Liv Morgan is over in a big way, her ring skills are still lacking. Both Liv and Natalya tried to work a hard-hitting match, but Morgan was sloppy as ever, missing cues and looking like she was working a training session rather than a match on live TV. Short of a dramatic turnaround, Liv Morgan's strong suit is never going to be her wrestling, and the WWE is going to need to keep her in the ring with strong workers unless it wants to make the women's champion look like a Divas-era wrestler. How many more singles matches? As exciting as the Usos vs. Street Profits series has been, the WWE has fallen into its usual trap of promoting two singles matches between the members of each team. Tonight was no different, and it's surprising that the WWE hasn't tried shaking things up with other ways of building heat, such as having the Profits wrestle another tag team only for the Usos to run in on them, or vice versa. Fool me twice. Tonight's bait and switch with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, with Ridge Holland filling in for Sheamus much as Butch did last week, was predictable, and Wrestlelamia knows the WWE wants to stretch things out, so Drew and Sheamus battle at SummerSlam to determine the #1 contender for the Undisputed Championship. That's fine, if not predictable, but why does WWE need to pull a similar stunt with Lacey Evans? Again, Wrestlelamia understands that WWE wants to get Evans over as a heel, but it shouldn't use such a similar ploy, having Evans stuck out of a match, to build heat on her. There are plenty of other tools the writers could use, and this was classic lazy booking. A not-so-special referee. Jeff Jarrett is your special referee for the Street Profits vs. the Usos match at SummerSlam, a move that no one saw coming and that no one seems to care about. With all due respect to the WWE Hall of Famer, Jeff Jarrett is someone who has been absent from WWE TV for so long that many fans are probably wondering who he is. His role as a special referee makes no sense unless the WWE is planning on turning Double J into an on-screen character. Doctors give Cody no return date. Topping today's news is an update on Cody Rhodes' return to the ring. The American Nightmare reports that he is uncertain about a return date, as his doctors won't give him a definitive return date. Rhodes, who reportedly suffered a pectoral tendon tear during a weight training session, appeared on Busted Open Radio to discuss the doctor's prognosis. My doctors are not going to give me a timeline just yet for when I'm going to be back because they're afraid if they give me that timeline, I'm going to try and jump it by maybe a month or two. I almost hemorrhaged in the surgery because there was so much blood. It probably didn't help that the American Nightmare worked a hard-hitting Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins 2 days after his injury. It also didn't help that he did an injury angle the next night on Raw. There were reports that Rhodes' complete tendon tear was so bad that he couldn't do any further damage to it by wrestling. Whether you believe this or not is up to you, but only time will tell if working with an injury aggravated it further. Some fans are speculating that the WWE is already in full spin mode and getting ready to bring Rhodes back far ahead of when the fans believe he's cleared to wrestle. How much of Rhodes' report is kayfabe and how much is accurate? For example, the Royal Rumble seems like an ideal event to bring Cody back, as he could win the event and headline WrestleMania 39. As always, the most important thing is for Cody to take the time to heal and rehabilitate his body fully. When do you think Rhodes will return? NXT changing to TV 14? As speculation continues that Raw is changing its rating from TV PG to TV 14, there is now speculation that NXT could join the Red brand in featuring more adult content. Dave Meltzer discussed this situation on Wrestling Observer Radio. I would think that if they do it to Raw, they'll do it to NXT. I think it'd be across the board. I don't think it should be one show. Why do one show? Smackdown will be up to Fox. At the end of the day, this is a USA call, not a WWE call. Diamond Dave speculated further, so it's not like Vince McMahon said this. I mean, obviously Vince has to greenlight it, but it's USA for whatever reason. If they want it that way and they think it'll hurt sponsorship, maybe they won't want it that way. I don't know. I could see WWE going like, oh god, on TNT they're allowed to say shit, and we say it and it's bleeped out. Let's change that. It's such a minor thing, but absolutely they would want to do that. Do you think Raw and or NXT will go TV 14? Andrade Injured. Bad news for fans of Andrade El Idolo, as AEW president Tony Khan reports Andrade is out with an injury. The news came on social media after a fan asked Khan why Andrade is not being pushed. Khan tweeted, "He'll be ringside for Private Party vs. Lucha Bros on AEW Rampage on TNT tonight. He's been hurt since the Classic vs. Rey Fenix 3 weeks ago. He got Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn to help him out tonight, and Lucha Bros both still want a piece of Andrade El Idolo and Rush Toro Blanco too." Andrade later tweeted an update to his fans. "Nothing serious, I have inflammation in my ankle. It is because I have been in the business for almost 20 years. Andrade is the latest wrestler sidelined by an injury. At this rate, AEW and the WWE may need to rent out respective hospital wards, or in WWE's case, undisclosed medical facilities." Io Shirai's dilemma. Is Io Shirai staying in WWE? Right now, the answer seems to be no, as the talented superstar has not signed a new deal with WWE. With her contract expiring, rumor has it Shirai could return to Japan, working in the Stardom promotion. Rumor has it that Shirai will only stay in WWE if she gets a role on the main roster. Sasha and Naomi included in WWE survey. Last but not least, while the WWE Universe continues to speculate on Naomi and Sasha Banks' official status in WWE, the company is doing its best to keep fans guessing. Wrestling News' Andrew Ravens reports that a recently released survey asked fans to rate their favorite wrestlers, with Naomi and Sasha making the list. Is this another case of one WWE department being out of the loop with another, or a sign one or both wrestlers could return to TV? Well guys, there you have it, Wrestlalamia's look at the 15th July edition of Smackdown, including the good, the bad, and the downright ugly, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know in wrestling. Be sure to leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.